Hello, welcome to the Remarkable Podcast. I'm your host, Doug Ford. I'm pleased to present a fascinating conversation today with Emma Jones, an Orlando-based realtor. She is an absolute whiz on social media, especially Instagram. She really connects with her followers. I would know I'm one of them, and I think you'll get a ton of great info from this conversation. So enjoy. And now we're here with Emma Jones. And Emma, we were talking about a deal that we've been working on, and you were just expounding this idea because as we're recording, it's late November 2024, and the market has been weird everywhere. And a lot of my Southern Ontario, Canadian contacts, realtors I've been talking about, have been talking about the idea that so many of their potential sellers are a little delusional on what they think their house is worth. And you were saying, like, because of the deal we've been working on together over the last year, what were you saying about the idea of learning how to price and structure your
Right.
conversation?
Yeah. I mean, as an owner of a home, there's always going to be an emotional attachment, I think, to that home. And, at one point, that seller invested their money into buying that home and they might have done upgrades and made memories there and whatever. And so it's more special to them a lot of the time than maybe what the market is saying. And so when listing the home, it is the job, I think, of a realtor to kind of try to bring people down to earth and say, hey, you have a beautiful home, but they might be like, price it at the highest price possible so that I can make the most profit off of my home. And at that point, it's our job to say, hey, I know you love your home and I do too, but if we price it too high right now, we're going to be sitting on the market. We're not going to get any showings. Then we're going to be, 50 plus days into this thing. We might do a price drop. Less people are going to see it. We're going to end up selling for way less than, we could get if we just priced it correctly right now. But it's really difficult to do that because every single seller has many different types of personalities and levels of understanding of real estate in the market. And so that's definitely a challenging thing to navigate sometimes, but it's important. Pricing in the beginning is one of the most important things you can do.
Absolutely. And of course, some people always approach things that it's either going to be my way or the highway, and that's all there is to it.
Right.
And I mean, I can comment and say you handled this particular scenario that we were discussing like fabulously. I mean, very professional, top-notch quality service, and you did your job 100%. I had given him a price originally, and I was apparently ridiculously underpriced, but perhaps a little bit more accurate based on the market. And we saw we
We
saw
sure
what
did.
happened. But anyway,
Yeah.
we had kind of jumped into it. I want to take a minute, just let Emma tell our audience. So a lot of new realtors watch this, a lot of people that are looking to boost their business. And so you're kind of talking to our peers, you're talking to other realtors, you're talking to people that want to grow. Who is Emma? What did you do before real estate and how'd you get into it?
So I mean, I definitely always try to answer this question with as much transparency as possible because a lot of either younger agents or newer agents, everybody kind of has their own story with how they got started in real estate. It seems like everybody has their license, but building an actual real estate business is very, very tough to make it full time, to make it,
Don't tell
and
anyone.
I'll admit, I went into it very naive. I'm so glad that I eventually fell in love with what it actually is. But before real estate, I was a college student. I graduated from Rollins College here locally in Winter Park, Florida. Got my business degree from there, and but I'm originally from Virginia, so I didn't have any like childhood friends here, family connections. I didn't have any sort of network after college. All of my friends pretty much moved away except for a few. So right when I graduated, I spent that summer after graduation being like, "Well, okay, like what do I do with my life? I have this degree now. I really, I don't know like what I want to do.
You mean they
But I
don't tell you that in college?
yeah, right. Like figure it out before you graduate. Um, but I'm not one to like settle either. So I didn't figure it out in college, and I was like, I'm not gonna go work, a corporate 9 to 5 or something, which is great for some people, but I knew that that's not what I wanted to do. Just to settle and be comfortable. It's just not what I wanted. And so during that summer, I did a lot of reflection of what I might be good at. And in my internships throughout the summers of college, I was able to experience a few different things. I was a bank teller one summer, which I actually hated, but I learned to really deal with lots of money at once and not really be scared of navigating money.
Yep.
And the next summer, I worked with an interior designer in Virginia, which I loved. Um, and I was also able to travel a little bit in college. I studied abroad and met, people from different countries and learned that I love culture. And I also knew that I just had this huge entrepreneurial aspect to me. I also was a student athlete. I was a swimmer and swam for 15 years of my life. I wasn't at the Olympic level, but I practiced with Olympians and um, just learned so much of like my drive and my time management. And I was diving in the pool at 4:15 in the morning in high school, and all this kind of stuff kind of like came together. So I like was reflecting on all of it, and I'm like, I'm going to get my real estate license, like 8,000 of your other friends who also said the exact same thing. And at the time, though, like I said, I was newly graduated and I got my license and I interviewed with a bunch of brokerages around, found the Palmano Group, who I adore. I'm still with them and it's an amazing fit for me. But I remember when I first interviewed with them, to make money at the time, I was working at a local kind of like high-end restaurant as a hostess, a greeter. And my broker was like, don't quit your job right now. Like, don't quit that restaurant job. You're not going to make any money for the first year of doing this. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm Emma Jones. Like, of course, I'm going to be the best
Well,
agent in a month. Like, what are you talking about? But thankfully, I listened to him. I did not quit that job, and I had to think of things very realistically. And it, I was paying my own rent, paying all my own expenses. It's like I knew that I wanted to do this, but I knew I probably wouldn't make a lot of money at first. And so, kind of secretly, for about, I don't know, the first year ish of maybe a little bit more even of having my real estate license, I would wake up super early in the morning and just grind, grind, grind all day building my real estate business, doing all the things like building a social media presence, going to networking events, crafting email lists and like without even selling houses at this point, I'm like just trying to create like a sphere. And then at like 3:30, 4 o'clock every single evening, I would put my hair back, put my red lipstick on, and I'd go work this restaurant job every single night until about 10, 11 p.m. And I do it all over again the next day for a little bit over a year. And so that's really how I got started. It was just kind of like, you have to do what you have to do to get by. And then eventually, the harder I worked, the longer it went. You sell more houses, you get clients, you kind of find the groove. Then eventually, one day I was able to quit that restaurant job, and I would still say I was doing it full time at that time, but now it's like just full on like go go go. So that's kind of how I got into it. It took a lot of sacrifice and put my head down, and I didn't have a life at all that whole time.
no,
Like
I like what you said there. It's like you were doing it full time, even though, I mean, technically there was those five,
mm,
6 hours every day where you were working at another job, but your mindset was full time.
yeah, it absolutely was. That job to me was like a way of getting by because I knew I had to think long term. It wasn't like a quick, I'm going to be rich super quick by selling a few houses. Like I was building the foundation for a business in my mind. So,
That's an excellent point. So thank you for that. Now, something I just want to like get you to stretch out because I'm personally like a really big fan of your Instagram.
oh, thanks.
Like
I
I think you do such a fantastic job. Um,
thanks.
because
That's how
I
you found me
mean,
in the first place, I think, was
yeah, that's how we connected, and it was over a property and whatever. But Here's what I want. I'm going to share your Instagram if you're willing to let me do that with the audience, the remarkable nation here. But what I want people to look at and think about, and really what I want you to talk about is sort of some of the mindset behind it. Because, and I've fallen into this trap before. I mean, I remember one week where I had 8 closings in one week, scheduled for one week. And, at that point, you're like posting houses, but not much else. Like, because nobody wants to see me driving, texting, and phone talking all at the same time. I mean, I was only texting when, you know, cover cover my my neck here. It was nothing illegal. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's that kind of thing where you're just like, oh, here's a house, oh, it's for sale, oh, it's sold, great, yay, and it looks like you're busy. But what you do is very different. And the example so I want you to talk about that, but I really want, like when I was watching one of your videos recently, it was the mango tree,
Yeah, that was so
and
fun.
you got a lot of. I'm gonna guess. Did you get a lot of response from that? Positive response?
Fine. And not just on social media. I've been to events since then and like people have come up to me and been like, I loved your mango video.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a killer. So
Thank
talk a
you.
little bit about what went into that and like you can, for the sake of our conversation, maybe describe it, give me
Yeah,
a 1 minute description of what the mango tree is and
yeah,
then why you did it and how you did it and what you thought about.
totally. Yeah, so the mango tree video, for people who don't know, I always try to be very intentional with my closing gifts for my clients. I used to not be as much. I used to just get like a pretty like artisan basket with like cheeses and wine, which is fine sometimes. But my goal
Love
when I'm
cheeses.
working with, yeah, I do too. I mean, it's great. But my goal
Nothing
when
wrong
I'm
with that.
with a client though is to like learn them on such a deep level that whatever I get them to celebrate them buying or selling, it really speaks to them and who they are. And they feel seen that, I was really there for them this whole time, whatever. And it's so fun. It's like probably my favorite part of the process is like really learning these people. And so the mango tree was one of my clients was selling their house and buying a different one like 2 neighborhoods over. And I was representing them on both transactions, which I was very lucky to do. It was a lot of fun. And throughout, all of that communication in between and like we really grew very close. I mean, we were talking on the phone multiple times a day, texting. They were strangers in the beginning and now like, they're like, come on over and whatever. And so the house that they were selling in the backyard had this amazing mango tree. And the first time I went over to that house to kind of walk through it and learn it before we went on the market, they were like, I can't wait to get out of this house. It's just time to move on to something else. We did all the upgrades and like we're just so ready to move on. But they were like, but we're so sad to leave this mango tree behind. We look forward to it every season and they're just the juiciest, sweetest mangoes I've ever had. And that's just like the one thing that, we're really, really gonna miss. And so I remember that. I was like, okay, interesting. And when I was thinking of closing gifts for them, it just popped in my head one day of like, I should just get them a new mango tree. Like, problem solved. That's the one thing that made them sad about leaving this
Right,
house.
just it's a tree. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just gonna get
probably
them a
one in the
new.
ground somewhere.
Yeah. So right when I thought about that, I got super excited. So I started calling around all these like plant sanctuary places around and finally found one that had a bunch of mango trees and drove there one day and got one and kept it until closing day and then able to gift it to them. And they loved it. And they're so excited to watch it grow as they grow. And it was just it's a cool gift to have. I think it's like kind of like the gift that keeps on giving. But in relation to that video with social media, I think it all comes down to balance on social media. I like to post when I sell things and when I'm doing transactions and when things go on the market, like house things, because it shows that I'm busy, I have clients, all that.
Yeah.
But I really am very intentional showing one, like the background of the business and what it really is, because I didn't know when I started, and I want other people to see like really what's going on, but also like sharing personal things and, curating it a little bit so that it's like not like a just personal Instagram. It's definitely real estate related, but like I want people to like know who I am, and when they
Yeah.
work with me, like trust me for who I am and know that, I do have somewhat of a life sometimes, but I also dedicate a lot of things to real estate and I try to blend it. And so I do a lot of like day in the life videos. I do like that inside behind the scenes, like mango tree type thing. And I try to be educational as well. I try to do some like educational videos for people interested in buying or selling, things that I had no idea even when I started in the business, and questions that
Right.
I get. And I just really try to be helpful and fun and create like a fun space online.
I'm gonna pester you about this because like you're giving me the background, which is the story, and I love it. It's so important. You know, they say the story is what makes any content meaningful, and you do that, like you're amazing at that. But you're also really capable at so two things I want you to mention is just the stylistic component of that video. And you do a lot of them, like you said, oh, these day in the life videos. So how like get as nitty gritty as you possibly can on like what kind of phone do you have? How do you
Yeah.
make these recordings? Or do you have like a vlogger kit in addition to your phone? I don't know. Like, but
Oh,
I want to know about the behind the scenes.
cool.
I
Yeah.
know it's like spilling the beans and giving your
No,
secrets away.
I am an open book. I think it's super important. Um, so I've actually been like kind of insecure in the past of the quality of videos that I've had or posted. I only use my iPhone. And so sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like, should I hire somebody to create a more professional looking video? And I still kind of go back and forth on that. But at the same time, the other side of my brain is like, no, this is like what's authentic. And this is, it's like coming from my eyes. And like everybody just uses it's Instagram. It's not like it's like some super professional like platform or something. And which I do use professional photography and videography on like listings and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But when it
And
comes
they
to,
look great. You did for the client that I sent you, and yeah,
yeah.
fantastic.
And so actually, yeah, for that client, we used two different photographers and videographers.
I don't
But
want to
side note, um,
know.
but
Okay.
yeah, I just use my iPhone, and sometimes for like lighting, I have this like I don't even know how to describe it. It looks like the things that they use on like movies, but it's like not as fancy, just like kind of like a lighting feature.
So like a light box.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And then for editing videos, I honestly just use CapCut, which is like the TikTok thing to use. But it's just, yeah, it's a really user-friendly editing software. And I just pretty much slice my videos and do a voiceover and add some music. And that's pretty much it. I try not to spend like too much time on it because I need to be doing other things too. But social media also, I think, is important in this day and age. It's how I've connected with a ton of people. So yeah, it's I'm
Yeah.
still learning and figuring it out, but that's kind of the
Well, like your growth, I mean, I don't know where you started and exactly, but since I've tuned in to what you're doing, like really good. And even that, like, so when you said you do that day in the life or whatever, you're doing, I think they call it B-roll. Like, so you're recording video of what you're doing, but you're not really talking to the camera.
and then I'll
So
do
you're just
like
kind
a
of right. So you're recording yourself, then you crop it so that it looks, interesting and attractive, and it's kind of moving,
right.
a moving scene, right? And then you add a voiceover describing what's going on, and obviously throw in some tunes in the background. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I try to stay in the mindset of like if I was somebody watching on Instagram, like what would I think is visually engaging and interesting and like the things that I say in the voiceover and stuff. Like I really try to make it like fun for people to see. And
It
I don't want to
is.
be so boring.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's such a compliment. It's good to hear.
It's great. I love it. And so on a video like that, how much time do you think it actually takes you?
The I would say the main portion of the time is like planning what I'm gonna do,
Mhm.
and like kind of the order of things and what's going on in my week to make sure I'm proactively thinking of what to film and whatnot. That like takes the majority of the energy, but once I like figure that out, it's not too hard. I just film like if it's a day in the life, I'll just like kind of prep my camera up whenever I'm doing something, and then I think yesterday morning I edited that video in like 20 minutes maybe and got it posted. So yeah, nothing crazy.
It's really like, I think it's top notch because any realtor could do what you're doing and it could be interesting, it could be engaging. And so especially someone that's new, it's like I feel like why wouldn't you,
Social media
block
is
the time?
free and CapCut is free. You probably have an iPhone already. It's like this is free stuff you can be doing over here. It's
Yeah.
just the consistency and the mental like part of it of actually doing it. And that comes with all things real estate too.
And do you block it right in your calendar? So do you have a like a weekly calendar for your time and then have in there social media?
Yeah, I've gone through so many different methods like time management with real estate. It's so hard because it's not like school where like you have a schedule of classes and then homework and stuff. Like every day is genuinely so different. And so the method that I have found that works for me right now is I have like a calendar on my phone that I put everything on. It's called Todoist. I literally could not live without it. And I have like a recurring task for each day that says to post social media. And
Mhm.
every time I click it, it just goes to the next day. So like I remember to work on that. And then usually social media like isn't super high in the hierarchy of things. It's usually like things I have communicating with clients and title companies, whatever, like that all comes first. And then once I have
Yeah.
time in the day to work on social media, hopefully I've remembered to film or have the content and then I'll get that up there.
Um, and if you're willing, so that's great. Like, I think there's so much info there. So I hope that our viewers are really paying attention. And because I think just like there's a lot. And we'll check out your Instagram. Do you want to say what your Instagram is just so that people have
Yeah,
it?
it's my Jones Homes. It's pretty.
At Emma Jones Homes. Is that correct? Yeah, great. Also, so you and Victoria have been partners for a while. So could you talk a little bit about what that's like and sort of why you explored the idea of having a partner and how that works? And do you recommend it for other new agents or whatever?
Yeah. So Victoria and I's business partnership has evolved in various different ways.
Sure.
Currently, we actually don't do many deals together anymore. We actually do like a lot of just single things, but we still work together a lot. So it really is like it's kind of like any kind of relationship. It just kind of like ebbs and flows and changes with time. But I always say Victoria, and for listeners who don't know, Victoria is another Victoria O'Day. She's another agent in the Palmano Group, and we met once I joined the brokerage. She had already been there for about 4 years at that time, and I was brand new, and she saw that I was working hard and was like, she was so busy at that point. She's like, I need help. Let's be a team. Let's do this together. And so I was a brand new agent. Again, like I said, no network, no sphere, nobody. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this person is willing to bring me on and teach me real estate. And I get to kind of like get experience with her leads and like I can build my business this way and stuff. And so she is like an angel in my life. Like I love her so much. And so we partnered maybe like 3 or 4 months after I started at the brokerage. And then for the next like solid year, we did every single deal together. And she taught me everything I needed to know about real estate. I already knew like the time management, organization, like all that kind of stuff. Again, like I had a business degree, I had that kind of knowledge, but like I knew nothing about how to buy or sell a house. I hadn't done it in my life. I didn't know who to email, who to talk to, what the rules were, how to read a contract or write a contract, do anything. She taught me everything.
That
And
reminds me of there's an old real estate tape. I mean, I think you can download the audiobook or something like that of Tom Hopkins. And he was a realtor in the 90s, I think he sold 365 houses in one year. So a house a day that was his claim to fame. But he always says on his first deal, he was just in the office and someone came in and wanted to buy one of the listings that his office had. And he was like, fortunately, they knew how to fill out the paperwork because
yeah,
he literally knew nothing, right?
they don't teach you. This is like the crazy part is like they don't teach you this in when you're the licensure courses. Like they don't
Yeah.
tell you how to do it. Like you don't actually like learn anything in that course. It's horrible. So
Don't
anyway,
tell.
you know. So long story short, she taught me everything, and I give her credit to all of that. And then about about a little over a year into doing everything together, it got to the point where we were both just kind of so busy, and we were like, we need to leverage our expertise. I taught her all of my skills, all the organizational business type stuff. She taught me all of her skills, and then it was just kind of like leaving the nest. Like it was like I have all my stuff I have to deal with, you have all your stuff, and we still do, as much as we can together, but it's just kind of worked out in a way that we can both fly freely, and we've helped each other, in the best ways that we can. And sometimes, if a past client of ours comes back, we'll do a deal together, and we still work together in the office multiple times a week and everything. But I would tell newbies, if they just got their license, if you have somebody who's willing to take you on and teach you everything, absolutely go for it. I think I was like one in a million. Like, I don't know why she did that. Like, completely
Maybe
innocent.
because you're one in a million, and she was like, "Wow, this is a good opportunity."
I think that's like rare to find. A lot of times, like new agents kind of get sucked into like teams or huge like split percentages, or like there's different formats. I'm grateful that my brokerage is very like we have a lot of freedom, and we're not like constrained to anything, but you have to have that personal drive if you have that. So it just kind of is who you are and how you work. But if any new agents like have somebody in their office that's willing to kind of like team up with them and teach them things, um, definitely go for it. And then once you feel confident and comfortable to move out on your own, like make that clear in the beginning and do that. I mean, it's worked out awesome.
So if you're willing to say, and if not, I can cut this out or whatever. But what's your idea of a fair split? Just so that nobody gets taken advantage of. If they're watching this and thinking like, yeah, maybe I should join.
Talk about, yeah. I think it totally depends on experience, what you're bringing to the brokerage, what your brokerage offers you. It really is kind of like up in the air.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many variables. I think as like a brand new agent who needs help, a lot of help from other people, maybe from your broker, from the office, I think a fair split maybe would be like 60-40, like the agent getting 60, broker, whatever, team, whatever, getting 40. Um, but then, we kind of have this like cool structure in our brokerage where depending on your experience, you start at a certain level when you join the
Sure.
brokerage. And then the more business that you bring in, there's like tiers based on
Yeah.
how many sales. So like once you hit a certain tier, it'll go up like 5%, and then the next tier,
Yep.
5%. So, and it's always negotiable. So, my broker is awesome, and he sees the hard workers, and so he compensates us, based on how hard he sees us working and the business we're bringing in and what we're closing. So, it's also important to like interview your brokerage as much as they interview you. Make sure it's a place where you fit and you align with their values and you feel like you're comfortable negotiating something like that. But it really depends. Like my brokerage offers a lot of like marketing materials, and we don't have a desk fee and all that. So you really have to take into consideration like the costs that you're having to pay, um, you know, the business that you're bringing, and what you're getting from your brokerage.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
All
not a
right.
test.
Well, this has been like really a great conversation. And I do try and keep these chats to around the 30-minute mark so that they're not overwhelming for people. So I really appreciate the time that you have shared with us. And is there anything you'd want to leave the audience? One quick tip, or sometimes I ask people like, what's a book you've read that you really liked, or some piece of content that's been pretty meaningful? And then we'll sign off.
Some of my favorite books that have helped me in my business is Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. It's quick read, awesome for like negotiation. Also, the classic How to Win Friends and Influence People. Real estate is all about human psychology, in my opinion. So the more you study about that, I think the better off you'll be. And just one piece of advice is look at it as a long-term business, and the things that you're doing now are going to reward you in 2 years. and that's the mindset to have. So as long as you keep
Nice.
consistent, you'll be okay.
That's amazing. Thank you. So I really appreciate your time today, Emma. For all my viewers, please check her out on Instagram and watch the mango tree video. You'll love it, I promise. And yeah, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.